Let me show you how to put a voltmeter on a golf cart. In this case, this is an E-Z-GO. It's got a lift kit on it. You know, pretty decent big knobby tires and stuff. I use it on my farm. So far it's gone anywhere I wanted it to go, and I like it. But there's times when I'd like to know if I need to charge it. It did not come with a voltmeter. Some of the new ones may, but this one did not. So let me show you how to do this. Pretty easy. Here's your battery bank. This is a 36 volt. You need to find out where your how it's wired, which two batteries are going to get you are going to tell you where your 36 volts is. So in other words, if I put it on this battery, this is the positive, this one over here is the negative. It's 6 volts, okay, 6.0. I can do it in several places, put the negative in several places, and it may show 12 volts, it may show 24 volts, just depends on where I have it. But I have found that this battery here, the negative of it, is the end of the circuit. So I put it there, and there, and right now it's 35.8 volts. You may or may not be able to see that. So it's not quite 36, so I do need to charge it. So this is where my wires are going to come when I put my amp meter on. The wire is going to go to this positive and to this battery here, the negative. This is the circuit. It completes the circuit. The 6 volts, 6 volts, 6, 6, 6, and 6. When you get all the way over here, it's 36 volts. So positive here, negative here. So first of all, find out where your circuit ends, where it begins and where it ends. Next, we want to find a good place to put it. Well, last time I cut a hole here with on a different cart. I cut a hole somewhere in the what I'm gonna call the dashboard here with a Dremel tool. You can do that with a sharp knife, with a utility knife, and I cut it just big enough for the little voltmeter to snap in. Didn't have a good mounting system that came with it, but just where it was good and tight when I pushed it in. This one didn't have a good place here on the dashboard to do it, except for the place where you might want to put a radio. And this has a well, what I call a well here, for the radio to mount a radio in it. So it didn't have. Instead I'm going to put it right here in this well. I'm not going to put a radio on it, so I'll put it here in this well, and I'll put a little strip of Velcro there. This is my voltmeter, and I put another piece of Velcro, glued it to the bottom of that, so it should sit right on the bottom of that, like that. It's got wires, very small wires. It doesn't use much juice at all to just run the LED lights. Is all you're doing. So very little. But make sure you buy an amp meter. And this is important. An amp meter that goes up to and past the voltage that your cart is. If you've got a 36 volt cart, don't buy a 12 volt voltmeter. A voltmeter that only goes up to 12 volts or 15 volts or something like that. Buy one that's for 36 volt, which means it's going to go to 38, 40, something like that. If you've got a 48 volt cart, buy one that goes over 48 volts, because you're going to, when you're full charge, it's going to be maybe 49 or whatever. You're going to be a volt or two over. So make sure your voltmeter goes up high enough to register your cart. Okay, the more tricky part is to run your wire from your battery bank to the spot that you've picked for the mount, wherever you're going to put it. So I'm not going to go underneath, because again, I'm off-road most 99%, well, all the time. I'm not on a golf cart trail, I'm off-road. So I don't want it underneath, because I could be dragging on something on my farm, tree limb or something. And you want to make sure you got enough wire. So that's only about 3 feet from the battery bank up to here, but I've got to come from the batteries. I got to come down. I'm going under my mat, and then I'm coming back up to here. So it's about 6 feet of wire. Now, what wire did I use? Again, it doesn't have to be much of a wire. because you're not pulling you're pulling very little juice to light up those little LED lights. I just had a couple of these old things laying around, cut the wire off of them and spliced them together. My splice is right under the mat. Taped them up good with electrical tape, and that's what I used, was just these this wire. It's an old transformer that was having no idea what it was for. Something long dead, I'm sure. But I don't throw away hardly anything, and again, became useful. I throw that away, I'm done. So to run the wire, I could have pulled that plate off, and that's what I did on the last cart that I put a voltmeter on. But those two screws were kind of cantankerous, and so I figured out another way. I just pull this wire up under here. I use this gripper that you would grip like a bolt way down in a if you're working on an engine, you drop something and want to reach way down there and get it. That's what this thing is for, and it just picks up stuff. It's not magnetic. It's got the claw, okay? And I used it. I started it here. And just, well, basically like it's sitting right now, except underneath the mat. And then I pull this mat back like this, found it, and pulled it this way until I had it out. Then I ran it through that hole right there. Right there. That is a hole. And then up to my battery bank. And then as you can see, I've got the wire here. It's underneath the mat. And it's going up through a hole that I drilled in the bottom of the dashboard. There it is. It's going up through a hole I drilled in the bottom of the dashboard and coming out here where I want to have it for my mount. So that's pulling the wire. Make sure you got enough wire. This is about 6 feet probably. Again, I had to splice two of those little cords, two of these things together to get enough to do this. And there's my splice right there. Taped them together, and it'll be under the floor mat, and nobody will know it. Okay, I've spliced the wires onto the voltmeter, and the only thing you have to be concerned about is just to be consistent in how you're wiring this. This particular wire that I took off that little transformer thing has a black wire and a black and white wire. A little black wire with a white stripe. So I'm going to make the black and white wire my hot wire, my red wire. The black wire is black, so I've got black to black, black and white to red. Now when I come over here and put it on my battery, I'll make sure that I put the black and white wire, I'll put it on the positive. That's the only thing you have to be concerned about. And when I spliced the two wires together, these two wires, when I spliced them together, I made sure I kept uniform, black to black and black and white, like that one, black and white to black and white. I'll tape these up. This will be ready to go. We're just ready to go on the battery. Alright, I'm going to put some terminal ends on these, like this. We'll go on there. And then I'll crimp it down, crimp it right in here, and that will be set to go on that battery post. As far as wire size, go with the wire size that's on the approximate wire size that's on the meter that you get, the voltmeter. Mine had some really small wire, so this is a little bit bigger. I peeled off probably about, I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed, probably an inch of it, bent it back on itself, because the wire is so thin that it may be kind of hard to crimp in that terminal end there. But I'll get it done. I can't do it with one hand, but I'll get it done. Okay, so I've got my terminal ends crimped on. I went ahead and took the liberty, without showing you, of taking that nut off. And it's just a 1/4 inch post, probably 1/4 20. I think it was 7/16 as far as the nut size. And I made sure again that I had the white and black wire, black and white wire, on the positive, which is what this is, and I put the solid black wire on the negative. Okay, looks like we're up and running. I got 35.5, 35.6. It's just on the borderline, bouncing between 35.5 and 35.6. I need to charge this thing. I was wondering why it was kind of sluggish, and it hadn't been long since I charged it. So that's one reason I want to put the meter on. So, but I need to charge it. Now, if you've got a full charge and you've got issues, you've got sluggish issues, something like that, then it could be something else, which is another reason you might want to have a meter on it. It just it gives you an idea where your batteries are. If you go play a round of golf, then you probably charge yours every time. I use mine at 5-minute intervals. It could be 15 minutes. I never do drive what would be a golf course, probably. Just driving to the back of my farm, or I load some stuff in the back of it and I go build a fence or something like that, or work my sheep. I've got some sheep that I go work. So, and yes, it needs a bath terribly. But I use it on the farm, and so therefore I don't know exactly how much I drive this thing. It's not a full golf course at one given time, so that's why for me this comes in real handy. Again, it's velcroed on there, so unless I roll the cart, it's going to be stuck. And in case you're wondering, that that little voltmeter is going to pull, gosh, almost nothing. I mean, it's not going to run your battery down. Probably in the milliamps. I'm sure it's written on there. I just didn't look, but it's not going to run. It's not going to run your battery down. It'll take months, probably, sitting there to run your battery down. There it is, installed, complete, ready to go. Batteries fully charged.